In the 21st episode of the American Reveille Podcast, I discussed the officer-involved shooting that took the life of Hakeem Littleton and the ludicrous nature of the ensuing protests and the aftermath that ensued. The left comes for Latino big business as a call to boycott Goya unifies the right in a massive buy-cott, all the while Wayfair could be sneakily trafficking missing children through the distribution of ridiculously high-priced cabinetry. Could Wayfairgate and Pedogate be connected? Also, a powerful police PAC gains momentum in Philadelphia, and people across the country begin to wake up to the reality facing us all. The evil that was banished decades ago has returned, ladies and gentlemen. The Socialists have come back from the briny deep. Don't believe me? Well, have I got a soundbite for you. This is the American Reveille Podcast. Let's start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, it absolutely pains me to say this, but unfortunately, there seems to be a storm on the horizon. Can you feel it? Can you feel it in your fingertips, in your toes, in the pit of your stomach? There's a storm on the horizon if we don't start speaking up. Enough with the silent majority BS, and let's bring out the loud and proud majority of Americans that just want to work hard, raise their kids, and practice their religions and beliefs in peace. What we have been witnessing is an attack on the racial cohesion of this country just to distract us from a massive power grab, and it is absolutely unacceptable, heinous, disgusting, and enough is enough. Truly, folks, if you've had enough as well and you haven't followed this podcast yet, then I just don't know if I believe you. We just can't be silent anymore, and for every minute of silence we waste not defending America as peaceful patriots, people, even children, are paying the price. Children are paying the price. Remember that officer-involved shooting in Detroit the other day? The one where another evil police officer killed an innocent black man? Well, let's read this article from Vandana Rambaran of Fox News. Detroit police release video of man firing at cops before officers fatally shoot him. Well, what do you know? I quote, newly released body and dash cam footage by Detroit police in a deadly officer-involved shooting shows the suspect fired at police first before officers fatally shot him. The death of 20-year-old Hakeem Littleton Friday sparked protests throughout the city, but police chief James Craig said the video puts rumors that Littleton was unarmed to bed. Craig said at a news conference following the shooting that Littleton was no more than 3 feet away from the officers when he suddenly pulled a caliber semi-automatic pistol out of his pocket and began shooting at officers as they faced each other. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make this absolutely clear to you so that you don't miss the point. This is not about logic or justice. This is not about Black Lives Mattering, and these riots are definitely not about police brutality. Plain and simple. If you think the police here are guilty, in fact, if you think the police officer involved in the death of Rayshard Brooks is guilty, you're most likely ignorant, ill-informed, and I'm sorry that you don't like clicking the links and you just read the titles and repeat them. Well, let's see what's behind door number 2 in Gangland. Quote, it's simply a miracle he wasn't struck in the head, Craig said about the officer, who was unharmed. Officers were investigating a shooting that occurred at a block party during July 4th weekend and arrested a separate man, Daryl Sylvester, who had an outstanding warrant against him for drug distribution. Drug distribution, that thing socialists like. Police were not investigating Littleton and were not planning on arresting him for anything, but Craig said Littleton, who was standing next to Sylvester during the arrest, said, "You're not going to take my man," in other words, take him into custody, before he began firing at police. You're not going to take my man. You're not going to take my man. And then he opens fire at close range. All right, first of all, thank God these thugs, bullies, and hoodlums are terrible shots. Secondly, you need to understand what we're dealing with here, guys. We're dealing with a thug culture being manipulated by a Marxist movement to spell racial divide. Plain and simple, done and done. When we apply non-thug logic to thug logic, the math just doesn't work out, guys. The changes in community, culture, togetherness, these things take time and must be put in place properly, and defunding the police and terrorizing cities anytime anyone shoots anyone, whether they're a black person or not, is ludicrous. Absolutely, positively ludicrous. Now, I don't recommend shooting anyone, but shootings happen. They happen every day and are part of keeping communities safe. Defund the police? Mommy and daddy should have defunded your social media account as a child and sent you to work some real hard labor. Shame on you for manipulating poor communities that already have enough problems to deal with. As the article says, it's a miracle that the officer wasn't shot in the head. People are dying while anarchist and Marxist groups profit off our backs, which is technically capitalism, which makes them all hypocrites. So Littleton fired 2 shots before 3 officers returned fire with 4 shots. And someone's probably going to say that's not fair. Littleton continued shooting even as he fell to the ground, firing 2 more shots. That's 6 that missed police. Remember I said they're bad shots? There were 8 shots fired in 5 seconds. 4 fired by 3 officers, 1 fired by 2 officers, 4 fired by the suspect, Craig said. As Littleton raised the gun in his left hand, he was aiming at the officer's head, Craig added. Lovely. So, I don't know what planet we're on anymore in 2020, folks, but apparently it's not okay to shoot a black guy when he's aiming a gun at your face. I would think that if anybody aims a gun at anybody's face for no reason, or for any reason, actually, it would be okay at that point if you happen to have a gun to shoot that person who was trying to shoot you in the face. I just feel like that would be anybody's inherent and God-given right by the Second Amendment of the country I think I'm living in, at least. I mean, if you came to my home and pointed a gun at my face, you are most likely going to die that day or night or afternoon. I guess the time matters. Either way, what won't matter is your rights if they keep defunding the police and making radical left agendas at the forefront of re-education. This Orwellian garbage is going to lead to so many situations where people who never ever would have thought it, people of all races and communities, people are going to have a lot more guns in their faces if we defund the police. You know how you call places now and you just want to talk to somebody, but you get that robot, you just jam numbers until it hangs up on you and you toss the phone in frustration? That's 911 soon. Imagine this. Thank you for calling the 911 hotline. Our office hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. If you know your party's extension, please press dead. You're dead. And if you're not armed, you're crazy at this point. And if you're not standing up for America, you're a coward. You feel bullied? I'm sorry for your weak and fragile state of mind. In history, things like this happen periodically. Uprisings of insanity occur and either destroy entire countries and cultures or are stopped by the voice of mighty patriots. I will give you the benefit of the doubt that Americans can be slow starters, but the time is now. Reveille, ladies and gentlemen, reveille. Wake up. Well, people are starting to wake up, and they're waking up by the thousands. In fact, a group of ex-police officers in Philadelphia are being much more than silent about it. They've exercised their constitutional right to organize, just like anyone can across this great nation. We have organizations that protect everything under the sun. Why not our brave men and women in blue? Stephanie Pagones from Fox News writes, a coalition of retired law enforcement officers has banded together and formed the Protect Our Police PAC to support pro-cop candidates running for elections. Philadelphia-based Protect Our Police PAC, otherwise known as Pop PAC, launched Wednesday and is raising funds to put towards endorsed pro-police candidates and independent expenditures for paid communication programs and media plans. As spineless elected officials turn their back on cops, Pop PAC will elect law and order candidates in their place. Pop PAC will build the largest coalition of pro-police groups, organizations, unions, and lodges in the country to fight to protect our police on the front line who selflessly risk their lives every day. Pop PAC will also promote pro-police stories often ignored by the mainstream media. Pop PAC has already received contributions from Philadelphia Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 5 and is encouraging candidates to apply for endorsement through its candidate recruitment program. The PAC's board consists of 4 retired Philadelphia police officers who each boast between 12 and 20 years of service. Radical anarchists, spineless left-wing politicians, and the mainstream media are doing everything in their power to defund the police and dismantle the systems of law and order that keep us all safe. The site states that it's time we fight back and show our police that we have their backs by electing leaders who will always back the blue. So everyone here at the American Reveille supports what you guys are doing up there. Keep up the good work. And folks listening, make sure you take the time to go to www.protectourpolicepac.org to read about what they're doing, read about their cause, and if you can afford to, donate even just a little bit so they can help to restore order and help these burning communities by electing the right officials who will really partner with both the communities and the police to restore much-needed synergy, not to stoke and advocate the fires of violence, chaos, and disorder. So that was www.protectourpolicepac.org. And listen, don't be simple-minded. If your city, if your state needs things like this and you just haven't had any idea where to start, take a look at protectourpolicepac.org, their website, and get some ideas. We need to keep these movements coming, we need to keep them growing, and we need to keep them going forward. The resistance starts as an idea, grows into a sapling, and becomes a mighty oak. Be patient, be persistent, be consistent, and most of all, be righteous in your plans and actions. So, ladies and gentlemen, the year's 2020. And we've been living in a world with padded walls and manipulated information. These children have been glued to social media for the entirety of their lives, and we wonder why they have the attention span and forward-thinking abilities of a bag of grapes. Parents worked and worked and worked while the schools replaced history, and the giant tech companies pushed their initiatives. Of course, those tech companies use capitalism to get where they are today, but that isn't important, is it? Either way, it's like an army of Manchurian candidates perfectly trained with the principles of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Pavlov's dog, while people praising Lenin repeated in the background 24 hours of day. Guys, Maslow's theory of needs states that there's a pyramid of 5 essential human needs. At the bottom, we have the physiological needs: food, water, warmth, rest, all that good stuff that keeps us alive. Moving up the pyramid, we have safety, belongingness, love. The next 2, I need you all to pay special attention to. These are the top 2 on the pyramid, which no one working a standard 9 to 5 will get anymore, and is precisely what's being manipulated by the left in these people. Self-esteem needs, second from the top, prestige, and a feeling of accomplishment. There aren't many jobs and things out there that give this to people anymore. Same with the one at the tippy top, which is self-actualization, or achieving one's full purpose and potential, including creative activities. Now and again, no 9 to 5 gives this to anyone at all. I dare you to prove me wrong. We have literal drone armies of people walking around with absolutely no fulfillment whatsoever. So what offers fulfillment to these people? Groups offer fulfillment to these people. Groups with causes. It doesn't matter the cause, as the placebo effect is proven, but groups with causes, of course, will give you all the feel-good, I'm a winner dopamine you want. Don't believe me? Let's keep going with the classical conditioning, the Pavlov's dog stuff I mentioned earlier. This Pavlovian conditioning is a procedure of learning in which a stimulus, the feeling of self-worth in this case, is linked with with another stimulus that before had no effect. So this means that every time, for example, something perceived as racism occurs, you are then rewarded for doing something about it, for being part of the group. Even if the group is wrong, you will receive that addictive, yummy dopamine hit, and that feel-good, self-actualized, the top of the top, that creme de la creme of human needs before death. So all of these people that are hurting others and thinking that they're fighting for some righteous cause are actually just lab rats having been fed nonsense and programming for the sad entirety of their lives. We fix them by fixing our culture, by swinging the pendulum back to balance from far left in our American way of thinking. Of course, my explanation is simple. They've been using technology to turn everyone under 30 that had the internet into a sea of lab rats for their psychological experimentation and manipulation, and I bet if we dig deep enough, we may find some facts. So folks, when we get back, we're going to dive headfirst into this new Wayfair conspiracy just for a quick moment. Apparently, Wayfair is selling kids to rich people? Jesus Christ, people. But again, this is a distraction from the war on socialism we need to be focused on. But first, folks, please, folks, we have to keep fighting the good fight and spreading the good word. And though I'm not asking for any money, I'm asking you to share this podcast, rate us, comment, interact, spread the word. The American Reveille is nothing. It's absolutely nothing without you. We'll be right back after a word from me, our sponsor.
Reveille Podcast with James Lane would like to take a moment to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to tune into the show. It's because of great fans like you that we strive to deliver the best quality content one can create as fast as one can fling the pen. With that being said, a good little boy never misses his opportunity to sell himself, and though James would never ask you for your money, he would like to let you know that if you absolutely love this podcast, the writing, the art, its production, anything, please do us the personal favor of liking, sharing, tweeting, texting, and talking about this podcast. James Lane is a father, a husband, a U.S. Navy veteran, and is personally committed to the success of the American Reveille Podcast. Please email James Lane directly at podcast@AmericanReveille.com, or please visit our website at www.AmericanReveille.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And at the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that there is a storm coming. There is a storm on the horizon, indeed. And at the heart of that storm is Ghislaine Maxwell. Or is it? Is this truly what will bring things down for the Democrats? Ghislaine may have some real information on high-level politicians having sex with minors, but it's a long shot at this point, though we hope that whoever is involved in this child sex trafficking atrocity goes down and burns for it. As far as Wayfair goes, I think at this point it's safe to say people may be jealous that they can't afford $15,000 throw pillows, but at this point, nothing and nobody is paying attention to what people in power are actually saying. And as much as I would like to spend more time guessing, we have another problem on our hands, masquerading in the background like nothing is happening. Socialist leaders are looking to tear down the country we love. This isn't speculation, guys. Take a listen to Seattle City Councilwoman Kshama Sawant. And if this doesn't terrify you and strengthen your resolve as a patriot, then you aren't a hard-working, blue or white-collar American patriot. You are a coward.
I have a message for Jeff Bezos and his class. If you attempt again to overturn the Amazon tax, working people will go all out in the thousands to defeat you. And we will not stop there, because you see, we are fighting for far more than this tax. We are preparing the ground for a different kind of society. And if you, Jeff Bezos, want to drive that process forward by lashing out against us in our modest demands, then so be it. Because we are coming for you and your rotten system. We are coming to dismantle this deeply oppressive, racist, sexist, violent, utterly bankrupt system of capitalism, this police state. We cannot and will not stop until we overthrow it and replace it with a world based instead on solidarity, genuine democracy, and equality. A socialist world. Thank you.
So that was from a few days ago, folks. That's terrifying. That should scare the crap out of you. This is a woman more powerful than the incompetent mayor of Seattle that allowed CHOP to happen. In fact, this fool led the mob to the mayor's house, and only then did the mayor act. And then when she tried to investigate Kshama Sawant, the council shut the mayor down. That is councilwoman Kshama Sawant and the entire council and city that bows to her. This is spreading across our country, folks. These are corrupt and evil individuals pretending to look out for the working people when in fact her main goal is to enslave the working people. Let me read you this directly from Seattle.gov. .gov. This is a government website, folks, not some little amateur thing. And I quote, "The deadly coronavirus pandemic has shaken our world. Working people face a triple emergency: illness and loss of loved ones, severe job and income losses, and a worsening housing emergency." Oh, that's terrifying to people that aren't intelligent. The emergency will, unfortunately, last well beyond 2020. Oh, well, there we go. More power. We cannot afford to wait until the health crisis is over to set in motion the massive jobs and housing investments that workers will need. Oh, free stuff? That's why we're fighting to tax Amazon and other big businesses who create jobs for hundreds of thousands of people, to fund immediate COVID-19 relief for working people, and then to go on in 2021 and beyond to fund a massive expansion of new, affordable, social housing and Green New Deal renovations of existing homes. These programs have the potential to create and support thousands of good union jobs. We're also fighting for a statewide suspension of rent, mortgage, and utility payments to make hundreds of thousands of people slaves to the local government. I mean, because hundreds of thousands of working Washingtonians have been laid off or have lost wages through unpaid stay-at-home. It then goes on to say, through the work we've done since 2013, my council office has shown how we can successfully build a new party of the working class. That sounds very 1920-30s Germany-like. Accountable to working people. Yeah, that's how that usually goes. Okay. We've built movements and won the $15 an hour minimum wage, breakthrough tenant rights, Indigenous Peoples Day, and funding to divert our youth from the racist prison industrial complex. Oh, that's a buzzword right there. We've organized successfully. That's one thing they're doing right that we're not doing on the right. To defend seniors fighting to stay in their homes, to win a new central district post office, to stop gentrification and outrageous rent increases, and to defend struggling small business. We have joined workers on countless picket lines and with youth in inspiring climate strike actions. Well, let me first say that if you ask any small business person in the Seattle area, they'll probably tell you that she's lying because they all hate these freaking policies. They do nothing but make it harder for workers to actually stay employed and make people depend on the government more. But anyway, let's continue. We live in one of the richest cities and the richest nations on earth. There's no shortage of resources. So yet the current economic and political system has given working people recession, unemployment, underemployment, and homelessness. Another world is both possible. Indeed, it's necessary. Oh, great. Here comes the trashing of our system, huh? This is a government website. Remember this, people. This is a government website. I'm going to continue. If the COVID-19 pandemic teaches us anything, it's that the existing profit-hungry capitalist system, there it is, has failed the vast majority of working people, and it will continue to fail us. We must organize our own independent political movements, raise our demands, and fight for our rights as working people, as a member of a socialist alternative. You know, that sounds like Nazis. I recognize that we have to fight for a socialist society, one that puts people's needs before corporate profits. My council office will proudly continue to serve as an organizing center for movements to fight for that change. I welcome your ideas, your energy, and your involvement until I become the high dictator of the world. At least that's what I think. So, folks, if you aren't waking up yet, here's a cup of coffee. And a right hook to the jaw, perhaps. Capitalism and American democracy are under full assault and attack. This woman is pretending to be a psychic while promising freebies to the impoverished and manipulating them to do her bidding. She's like the evil emperor from Star Wars, pure evil. What a sick, lizard-tongued snake of a human, a sure disgrace in the eyes of the universe. She has no concept about how to help people and the consequences of her actions as she seeks pure chaos and destruction towards her evil rise to power. Folks, this could be a true candidate for the Antichrist, next to Don Lemon, AOC, and Nancy Pelosi, of course. I will always fight individuals such as this as they hope to punish hardworking Americans by pretending they have their best interests in mind. Notice how she sprinkles fairy dust throughout this. We've helped old people, more money for young people. Oh, poor people, help everyone, help the poor people with social housing and $15 minimum wage. You're a joke. Your concept of economics is that of a pathetic excuse for a teacher with no real world experience. All of your plans are based in theory, and you will ultimately fail. You will collapse in tears as the destruction of your life's work plays in front of your eyes, and you'll disappear into obscurity, as all people attempting this have done throughout history. You have not discovered a new way whatsoever. You've discovered the old and ancient and evil ways that good men and women rally against and destroy time and time again throughout history. Oh yes, I hope you enjoy your lengthy downfall as more and more of us patriots awaken. Anything positive she mentioned should be re-examined through the lens of the first audio clip I played in this episode, showing her true nature, her true intentions, if you didn't get the point already. I hope, and pardon my language, I hope Amazon takes a giant shit on her movement. And we all need to take giant shits on this movement as well. Ladies and gentlemen, capitalism is the only system that helps everyone through competition and innovation, whereas socialism sounds nice, but is quickly gobbled up by communism. This is a mask. Don't be fooled by it. Don't keep silent. Our children will be fighting the civil war that ensues if we keep our mouths shut. Rally, my friends. Unite together and fight the power by claiming our own and striking back with the First Amendment and all of its might. Here's some clarification, by the way, of the Amazon tax she's referring to. This is brought to you by Brittany DeLea of Fox News the other day. I quote, "After the Seattle City Council approved a payroll tax on the city's largest employers this week, one of the council members appeared to threaten locally headquarters e-commerce giant Amazon while using fiery language to call for the overthrow of the rotten system of capitalism. In a video posted on Twitter, a woman who's been identified as Seattle City Councilwoman Kshama Sawant said Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos would be defeated if he tried to oppose what has become known as the Amazon tax. The measure Sawant was referring to is a payroll tax approved by the city council this week, the same city that doesn't go with what the voters request and just overrides them in the courts. The levy would be applied to businesses with $7 million or more in annual payroll, but an assessment would not be placed on salaries below $150,000. The tax would range from 0.7% to 2.4%. That's a selective tax on wealthy people. That's anti-capitalism. That's not legal in our Constitution. This isn't the first time Seattle has tried to raise revenue by taxing its largest employers. Anyway, I don't know how much clearer I need to make this for you guys. Our way of life is under attack, and the socialists are gaining power. If we don't stand up for what's right and organize ourselves, it will be our fault when this republic falls. Let's prevent that from happening by standing tall, shoulders back, keeping our mouths moving. Someone spoke like her before. And if only we would have read the book he wrote in prison, we could have stopped the death of 6 million Jews and countless others. This is no time for silence. We know how history works, and the ancient enemy has returned once again from the depths of Hades. Man, this is some scary stuff, but at least my beans and rice are safe, right? Oh, wait, what? Excuse me? They're coming after the beans and rice too? Ay, Dios mío, no! But that's okay. The right is much stronger than they expected. Finally, people are beginning to unite with one another against the insanity of the left. Ladies and gentlemen, let the Goya boycott begin. From Evie Fordham of Fox Business, Goya boycott begins as customers load up on product after Trump backlash. And I proudly quote, many took to social media to express their displeasure with Goya Foods CEO Robert Unanue. I hope I'm saying that right. Unanue. I'll say it Unanue for the rest of this. Anyway, after he praised President Trump at a White House event on Thursday, but others are flipping the narrative and calling for a Goya Foods boycott. My brother came up with a terrific idea, and I'm encouraging all to join me in purchasing $10 worth of Goya Foods products and donating them to your local food bank. Self-described conservatarian radio host Mike Opelka wrote on Twitter, let's push a boycott, not a boycott. Let's show the Goya way people what compassion can do. That's a beautiful idea. We should all go and buy $10 worth of Goya products and donate them to a local food bank. Anyway, Opelka's post received 27,000 likes. So he quotes what I just said anyway. Go out today and buy your Goya Foods. Fox News host Mark Levin wrote on Twitter, most of these people fronting about a Goya boycott either don't use Goya Foods anyways, and most of the ones who do will cave by Noche Buena. Senator Marco Rubio, Republican of Florida, wrote on Twitter along with a I Love Goya graphic. Also, we at the American Reveille Podcast have been sporting an I Love Goya graphic here and there. The controversy has inspired some Goya Foods fans to give back. Virginia resident Casey Harper started a GoFundMe on Saturday to buy Goya products to donate food pantries. The page is already more than halfway to its $10,000 goal. I'm not surprised we've raised so much because people are tired of having to walk on eggshells in political discourse, Harper told Fox Business. Also, Americans are fundamentally generous people, so a chance to feed the hungry and stand up to cancel culture was an easy win. And that's exactly what we're doing, folks. When we help Goya Foods right now, we're standing up to the dreaded and evil cancel culture that's helping to facilitate this socialist Marxist takeover. Goya Foods touted its charitable giving on Friday after calls for a boycott, including that from progressive representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, the devil herself. Goya Foods said it has given 2 million pounds of food to food banks across the nation who are in desperate need of food for families impacted by COVID-19. Robert Unanue, head of the New Jersey-based company, said Friday, the boycott is a reflection of a division that exists today in our country that is killing our nation. And sir, here at the American Reveille, we could not agree with you more. This is yet another example of the left viciously and violently lashing out against anything and everything that stands in their way. There's no control over the mob of cancel culture, and I think that the leftist socialist leaders are starting to realize this. The mob has begun eating itself. It's eating into its own belly, which has created a small window of opportunity for people like us on the right side of things to try to gain a foothold, to take a beachhead and begin accumulating power towards an oppositional front here, guys. We're trying to make a beachhead here. We're trying to make a war front. Here is the mistake that we keep making. We keep saying that this needs to stop before we come to a war, a physical war. And I beg to offer a different perspective. Could it be possible that we're already at war? A war of economies and ideals, a culture war? If we are, we're losing. and we must establish a front. As I wrap this delicious carne asada rice and beans in a Goya flour tortilla wrapper, I think to myself how thankful I am living in a country that's granted us such freedoms and privileges. Even those of us in the worst possible economic positions, even our homeless, are better off and within the 1% of the entire world's population of wealth. Now, I'm not saying that our system is perfect, but I am saying that it's the best system in the world. And as stubborn people, it's time we take a second to realize that this war is different. They've programmed the young with social media. They've indoctrinated our youth on college campuses. They've poisoned our history. They've attempted to destroy and bury our history. And now they're coming for our country. Don't believe me? The authorities already seized the St. Louis couple's guns and executed a search warrant on their property. Even though they were plainly defending themselves with the Second Amendment, it's only a matter of time before they come for us all. So, what are you doing to be a part of the solution? What are you doing to fight socialism and its final form of communism? I am inviting every single person that hears this to submit your ideas to me, either public on social media or at jameslane@AmericanReveille.com. You can email me there, as I'm feeling pushed towards speaking about this more and more. Hopefully, if I can publish our ideas and keep speaking about it and pushing, good people will come forth and begin to organize into PACs, groups, and organizations of resistance. I honestly believe that Trump is going to win gigantically in November, but then what happens? What happens to the left? I believe they'll become even more radicalized and violent, and to that, we must prepare ourselves early. You must take responsibilities for your families and begin to save your money adequately. Stock up on supplies. I'm not saying this to be paranoid. I'm not telling you to build bunkers. I'm just saying to be ready, just in case. Also, it is at this time that we need to reach out to one another. We all must begin to form tighter communities and family bonds with friends and neighbors and people of like minds. This is entirely inclusive, and all Americans, black, white, brown, gay, lesbian, all Americans should be welcome to defend our great democracy against the great socialist nemesis that faces us right now. I don't care how you feel about each other. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, I am prepared to do this for the long haul, and I truly believe in what we are doing. I genuinely believe in the higher purpose, and I truly envision a beautiful and united future for all of our grandchildren. But now is the time to put in the work. These leftists hate hard work. Let's show them the shocking and awe-inspiring power of a united and proud American coalition. Have a great Monday, my fellow Americans, and I look forward to hearing from you on Facebook at American Reveille, Twitter at American Reveille, Instagram at American_Reveille, LinkedIn at The American Reveille Podcast, and now on Parler at The James Lane. The American Reveille Podcast is on most podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is James Lane, and I'm clocking out. See you next week.